Looks like we should be recording now. I'm not sure if it's going to ask me to save to my local drive or if it's going to just record this into the cloud. Let's go ahead and turn on closed captioning too. That was a cool, nifty feature that, yeah, I didn't realize their voice dictation software has really gotten good where it understands the context of what you say and corrects the grammar in real time. I do wish that I could separate the chat into a different window. Yeah, you only see. Oh, wow. It switched windows on me. Let me go back here. All right, it's got the right window now, at least. I don't know how or when it switched my screens, but it didn't really like that too much. All right, we're recording now, at least. And yeah, once again, I'll ask if anyone had questions or anything on the lesson. You know, I'm curious, did everyone do perfect on quiz 1? You know, we could even go through some of the questions. This is even some of the things that we covered in class last time. You know, knowing the difference between the Unity windows, you know, the inspector. That's where all of your properties are shown, so that whenever you select something in your hierarchy or select something in your project, it brings up additional information about that particular item. You know, if you select something in a hierarchy, you can change the properties. But remember, if you're in play mode, any changes you make in the inspector are only temporary. This allows you to debug your software in real time, but then you just have to be careful, because if you've got it paused and you make a bunch of changes and then unpause it, all of those changes are going to go away when you stop playing the game. All right. One of the other things, I think I talked about it a little bit last class, but you also are going to want to check out the asset store. You access it through window and then asset store. The Unity asset store has just a huge amount of resources that you can download. A lot of them are free, or there's also some really good ones that you can pay for as well. It looks like they got rid of the asset store used to integrate directly into Unity. Now it looks like you're no longer allowed to do that. You actually have to go to their website. They must have ran into some difficulties, or maybe somebody found a bug where you could just get everything for free, or who knows. But website is just as good as inside of Unity itself. Might actually be a little better because you can maximize the window. If you used to run the asset store, you'd have to put it, well, you could also maximize the window, I guess. But yeah, let's just close that now. I like to use my default layout here where I've got the console along the bottom. And yeah, as you guys use the Unity environment more, you'll come to a layout that you like. And you can save that layout here in the preferences. Let's see here, I'm still sharing the right screen. Let's go back, see what other kinds of questions they asked. Is it true or false Visual Studio is not part of Unity? You could use a different editor. We talked about this last time as well. You can use any IDE you want, and it will work. Usually it works with the debugger too. We were having issues last time with the debugger in Visual Studio for Mac, but it should work. Let's see here. Question 3. What best describes the difference between the images below where the car is the second image, where the car is in the second image is further along the road? So it looks like they changed the location of the z-axis. You can see over here, and actually I didn't talk about this last time, so let's talk about this real quick. Need to bring the scene over here to my other window. Let's so this allows you to manipulate the camera. You can click on any of these handles and it'll rotate and kind of snap to that axis. If you want to flip it around. Otherwise, there's that trick where I told you guys where if you hold Alt, you can orbit around it. But this, yeah, this allows you to snap it in a certain direction. You can also click on this. It switches it from orthographic to isometric, or perspective to isometric. And the difference is when you are in isometric, there is really no such thing as depth. It gets rid of the depth. It's fine for 2D games. Perspective, I pretty much always keep it in perspective if I'm building a 3D game, and then if you're building a 2D game, isometric works just fine. Excuse me, my allergies have been particularly bad today. I forgot to take my medicine, my Allegra, yesterday, and so it's kicking me pretty badly today. Yeah, there's two different ways to move this too. So you can, here, let's go back to our, I wanted to I think it's probably best that we single screen it for now. I'll pull my game window over here so everything's in the, so there's two ways of getting this cube to move up. You can either take the cube and move its transform up in the Y direction, or you could take the camera and move the camera's position down, and then you have essentially the same effect. It's a camera trick. You can do a lot of interesting things with the camera. There's, as long as you're not in isometric, another way of making things appear closer is we could take our camera and we could adjust the z-axis and make it look bigger that way. Otherwise, there's a property here called field of view, and you can actually zoom in and zoom out the field of view as well. There's a nifty little trick I'll show you guys where if you move the camera out, but then make the field of view smaller, it gives it kind of this effect where you focus in on a particular area. Directors of movies do this a lot where you want to draw the attention to something, otherwise you can kind of zoom out and see the bigger picture without losing focus on what's in the center of your camera. Looks like the screen is still being shared properly. Question 4. In what order do you put the words when you are declaring a new variable? This is how you do it right here. So you put your accessor modifier. We don't probably have to go over accessor modifiers too much. A lot of the people in the class seem to already have a background in programming. You have public, protected, private. You want to make things public for the most part in your components, because if you make them public, then their properties will show up in the inspector window. I had showed you guys that last time. My cube has this move up property. If we wanted to have it so the user could, or that the developer could set that property in the inspector, we could add that. We could add that right here. So let's go ahead and make that property public. So we have a public float, and call it move up speed. And we'll use our move up speed here instead of the hard coded value. Note that if you do equals here, it will make this the default value that gets put into the inspector whenever you drop the component onto a game object. So now when I come back over to Unity, that move up speed will show up here as soon as Unity refreshes, and it will have the 0.1 default value that I included in the script right here. Note that if you have this 0.01 and then someone actually changes it to, 0.02 or 0.3, then it's going to use this 0.3 value rather than the 0.1 value. The inspector overrides whatever is hard-coded in the property in the script. This is just the default value that gets put into the inspector whenever you drop the component into or onto a new game object. See here, I want to check and make sure we don't have any questions that I'm missing in the chat. What are the answers of the first two questions? Oh, those questions were for 5 minutes ago. Hopefully I answered them already. The answers for the first two questions were, which Unity window contains a list of all the game objects currently in the scene? That is the hierarchy. The project window is where you have all of your files, and the hierarchy is where you have everything in the scene. And then the scene, that's different than the game. The game is what your camera is actually seen in the game, and the scene is for developers. It allows you to see what's going on, not on camera. Or in a lot of cases, it's a second camera, which is always useful to have. And then that one was, of course, true. Yeah, true. It's Visual Studio is developed by Microsoft. So the very first thing you do is the access modifier, then the data type, and then the variable name, and then the variable value. So which of the following variables would be visible in the inspector? Yeah, maybe I can not give you guys all the answers. Who wants to try and answer that one? Let's see here. Jason, you just joined us. Which one do you think is visible in the inspector? I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I guess you're muted. Does anyone want to jump in? Anyone have an idea which one of these properties is visible in the inspector and why?
It would be basically any that don't say private on them, right? So we speed and turn speed.
We'll just go with.
Yeah. So the variable has to be public, otherwise it won't show up in the inspector. So the answer would be speed, because turn speed's private. The other ones are private, and so none of them would show up in the inspector. If you want a private variable to show up in the inspector, there's a little trick. You can make the property a serializable field, and by adding serializable field, it then shows up in the inspector. Yep, it remains here. Oh, refresh. And this, you can use this trick if you want your variable to be private, so that other scripts can't access it, but you still want it to appear in the inspector. Yeah, sometimes there's just requirements, or sometimes you want it so that your variables can't be accessed by other people, especially if you're making some kind of API and you just want it to be private. For the most part, you're not building an API, you're building a game. And so by and large, it's just easier to keep all of your variables in your components public, and that way you can access them from other scripts and you can access them in the inspector. Let's see here. Where is the chat information? Aaron, I'm not sure what chat information you're referring to. I wasn't able to find a way of separating the chat from the window. It's, yeah, Meet just puts everything in a single window. All right, moving along to the next question. What is a possible value for the horizontal input variable? So we didn't really go over horizontal input values. And one of the nice things that Unity does is it handles inputs from controllers and keyboards and computer mice all for you automatically using these keywords. You can edit these keywords in project settings. Bring over my project settings. Inside of Input Manager, this is where you can define the different inputs for your controllers or for your keyboards or for your mouse. And then whenever one of these input names is encountered in the code, it automatically knows what to do, which is super useful. Yeah, it's really just probably thousands of lines of code that's already written for you because you're using Unity. And so the input value, it ends up coming back from the controller. It returns a value, and the value is, in this case, 0 to 1. It returns a floating point value. What is true about the following two lines? Let's see here. What are the potential answers? They will both move an object at the same speed. They will both move an object in the same direction. They will both move an object along the same axes. And they will both rotate the object, but along different axes. So, does anyone have an idea? We didn't really even use transform.translate. There's a couple of different ways to get something to move in Unity. You can either manipulate its position by setting the coordinates of the game object directly, or you can use this translate function. Otherwise, you can use the Unity physics engine and add a force to move it with force. And that gets a little tricky. We'll get into the Unity physics engine probably next week. Yeah, we'll get into it next week. I think it's important, and it helps when you're trying to learn about colliders and rigid bodies. And this particular question, this does not translate as a movement-based thing, so that we can throw out this answer because it talks about rotation. Translate is something that actually happens immediately. If you wanted to do it at a different speed, you would change the value. Vector 3.forward is a vector that is represented by 1, 0, 0. There's also vector 3.backwards, which is -1, 0, 0. You've got up, down, left, and right. All of these values are used by Unity. They're called normalized vectors because all of the values add up to 1. And so the correct answer in this case is that they'll both be moved along the same direction. No, same axes, because the direction might be different depending on the way that the object is rotated. Which of the following lines of code is using standard Unity naming convention? This first one looks wrong. You can't use capital letters, or it's really not going to like you. I don't. Looks like B and C are essentially the same. I'm not even seeing a difference between B and C. And then D has a lowercase s. The answer I think would be D, but B and C would also compile. I actually like to use capital letters when I use properties, but apparently Unity's conventional naming standard is lowercase. What happens is when it comes over to the inspector, it will automatically uppercase it for you. Let's see here. Any questions? Disregard. No, we're good on questions, and presentation is still being presented. All right. What comment would best describe the code below? So it looks like we're getting an input value, and then that input value is being used to rotate the transform or the game object. So if you remember, every game object has a transform. The transform is the game object's position, rotation, and size. And so I'll actually have to cheat. I don't remember what transform dot rotate. It does a rotation. I think it does a rotation around a particular axis. I don't remember the order in which it does it. So it looks like, where's our, otherwise, if we go over to Visual Studio, usually the IntelliSense gives you clues as to what variable does what. There's rotate around, there's rotate. This is an overloaded function where it can take a vector 3, and that's probably the most common, or it is the most common. It's the first one that shows up, where you would rotate around a certain vector. This seems to be the one that is in the quiz, where you're rotating around a certain axis, and the second variable is the angle. Yep. So that's really what we're looking at. And in this case, whatever we got from the input device, that is the angle that we're going to rotate around this up position. So it's basically rotating it around the y-axis. So rotates around the y-axis based on left and right. Yeah, horizontal is the left and right arrow keys, and vertical are up and down keys by default. The image below shows the preferences window that allows you to change the environment that you're using. Where would you click to choose an alternative code editing tool? This one right here, the external script editor, the red box. Yeah, so that finishes the quiz. Do you guys want me to go through the exercises that I assigned? I'm not sure. I didn't really gather if people were able to get through, or if you got stuck. It seemed like a lot of people just ran out of time. You know, we've only had 2 days since our last session, and so yeah, there was about 4 or 5 hours. Might even take longer if you are brand new to Unity, and getting stuck on some of the things that they explain, although they're pretty thorough. From the parts that I went through, they seem to explain it pretty well, and they gave a lot of back and forth videos and text / pictures that you could follow along with. All right, well, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, so yeah, I guess we can hop back over to Unity and start going through some more of the functions and things that you find. Last time we got through how to add game objects in materials. If we wanted to change our box color here to a different color, we would highlight it in the hierarchy, and our mesh render has got the default color right now, but if we wanted a different color, I I'm going to go to my default layout again. I can't deal with this one. There. And it is a good idea to create folders and keep some kind of organization. We didn't really do that last time because we didn't have that many files, but I would highly recommend keeping all of your scenes in a single folder called scenes. You want to keep all of your scripts inside of a scripts folder. There are a couple of important keyword folders. One of them is resources. Resources is important because objects that are in the resources folder can be instantiated at runtime, and anything inside of the resources folder is automatically included when you build your game. So if you've got a bunch of files in your project, but they don't get used anywhere in the scenes that you are building, Unity is smart enough that it will optimize and not use the assets that your game is not using. But if they're in a resources folder, they are. Everything in the resources folder is automatically included whenever you build a game. So just be cognizant of that. Another important one is called streaming assets. Streaming assets, all of these are also included whenever you build a game. This is where you want to put your video files. If you want to play movies in a web browser or really anything, they have to go into your streaming assets folder. Another very important one is called editor, is the editor folder. The editor folder is used to manipulate the Unity environment. And so one of the things that makes Unity so powerful is that you can change the environment itself. And so if you want, a custom inspector window, you can write a new class that will override what shows up in the inspector for a particular script file or for a particular component. Let's see here. Unity special folders may have been one that I forgot or left out. Editor, gizmos. Gizmos is the other one. I don't use gizmos that much. I think mine are even turned off. Gizmos are when you have the scene view, they show up as kind of icons. So if I wanted to turn them off, I could turn them off. 3D. You can make them larger or smaller. If you want to turn them off entirely, I think you can do it like that. Some people like gizmos because then you can see where lights are, where cameras are, where sounds are. They're just kind of little indicators to help you see what's in your scene. You can even tag objects. If I wanted to come over to my block here, I could add a tag. Tagging things, they're not tagged at all by default, but if you want to add tags, you can add a new tag here. We'll call it block. You can call upon tags in your code. That's a block now. Should probably talk about layers too while we're up here in our game object window. Layers can be used to show things on different cameras. So as I mentioned last class, you can have multiple cameras showing things at once, and oftentimes you do, especially if you have a graphic user interface, because the GUI ends up being on one camera and then all of the 3D objects and things end up being on another. And so, excuse me, allergies. Yeah, the main camera sees all of the different layers by default. But if you wanted to not see the UI layer, for example, you could turn that off. We don't have any things on the UI layer right now. But say we wanted to hide our block, we could also turn off the default layer, and now our block disappears because our camera isn't seeing the objects that are tagged with the default layer. So that can be useful for certain things. In the software that my company is building, we end up using a different layer for all of the planets, and that way the different planets are on different layers for lighting, for example. So that the directional lights that we use, are affected only by the objects that are on the correct layer. So those functions do get used. Tagging probably gets used more than layering, but they're both useful depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Let's see here. Let me check and see if there's any questions. Nope, looks like we're doing all right. Scroll down here and see if there's any more. Told you guys about the resources folder. That's probably the most important special folder name. Streaming assets we went over, and then hidden assets. I actually haven't even used hidden assets before. I don't even know why you would use hidden assets. I'm sure maybe there's a few use cases, but normally it's nice to know which assets you're working with. So those are the special folder names. Let's go ahead and take a look. Playables are actually a relatively new construct that was just added to Unity. I haven't used them yet. I'll look into it and see if those are important to cover. The most important ones we've already covered. UI, a lot of these are UI elements. If you're going to be wanting to create your own environments, there's environment making tools and things. A good way of doing that is the terrain builder here. The terrain builder, let's go back to our scene, can be used to extrude surfaces and things. There's a couple of neat plugins and things. You can do painting and such. Usually you have your graphic designers do this part. You can do it in a third-party tool as well. You can generate a terrain in Blender or 3D Max or any 3D modeling tool really, and import it into Unity. But Unity also has its own terrain making tool if you want to do that way. Let's see here, effects. Let's go over effects next, because effects can make things look really neat. Particle systems are used for animations. It's pretty straightforward. It's more or less a matter of going through the properties and looking at all the cool things you can do. If you want to make it go faster, you can take the duration. I'm sorry, I think the duration is the duration that the particles last. So if you want them to die very shortly, then you can turn that down. The emissions, rate, the shape. You know, if you want it to go as a cone or if you want it to go as a box, that's how you do that. You can change the image as well. Right now we're rendering these little spheres. I guess they look like lights. But if we wanted to change it to something else, you know, we could change the color to a different color. Where is the... You can leave trails if you want. There's a lot of cool things. The reason it's showing up purple is because it's missing a material. Any game object or mesh renderer that's missing a texture will show up this kind of magenta color. Let's get rid of the trail. Yeah, there's one of the, it's very powerful. The problem is, or the downside is that of having so many options, sometimes it's hard to find the property that you're looking for. I was going to try and change these lights to hearts or something, but I'm not immediately seeing that property. I also need a heart image too, so let's go ahead and go over here and get a heart. Be better if we had something with, yeah, it's got transparent. So save image as, oh wow. That's not the right file extension I was hoping for. Let's go ahead and drop our heart here. We're gonna lose the transparency, unfortunately. We can't do it in Paint, we have to do it in GIMP. Or actually, maybe Unity's smart enough to know this file extension. Let's just try it. Yeah, Unity didn't like that file extension. I wasn't sure if it would, and it doesn't, so pretty sure GIMP will like it though. GIMP likes everything. Then we can export this guy as a PNG. Now we can take this and drop it into Unity. That looks right. Now we just have to come back to our particle system. And where is that property? Excuse me. I think it's a material anyhow. So in order to get that heart on a material, we have to create a new material. We'll call it heart material. And I hope everyone understands the difference between an image or a texture and a material. They're two different things. They're definitely not the same thing. If you want to show something on an object, you need to have a material. You can't just slap a texture onto a game object that has to kind of be, going through this intermedium thing called a material. So now we have a heart material. We can drop that heart material onto the normal. No, nope, just kidding. It's not the normal. The normal map is sometimes called a bump map. It adds kind of a type of layer depth to the image. This one. Now we have our heart material. Now we can come over here and hopefully drop our heart material onto here and change it into hearts. Oh, the transparent background didn't come in. I think maybe I exported it from GIMP the wrong way. Anyhow, yeah, here's our heart particle system that we can turn on and off programmatically if you want, actually. Let's do that, actually. Have people been following along? Let me export my my scene here so everyone has the scene, and then we'll have a little in-class exercise where we're going to try and turn this particle system on and off procedurally. Maybe we'll have hearts coming out for 5 seconds, and then they stop for 2 seconds, and then they start again for 5 seconds. That seems like a good exercise to see if people are understanding how the scripting works. So yeah, let me go ahead and export this scene here. And we'll call it heart. We'll call it I'm in love. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to drop it onto the Slack channel. Let me know if you guys aren't able to download it, but the goal is to disable hearts procedurally. Oh, spell check didn't come through. You guys aren't seeing this because it's on the wrong screen. Procedurally. Programmatically. Man, I'm not having a spell check. Does not like me. There, whatever. Programmatically after 2 seconds. Heard something ding, which means maybe somebody asked a question somewhere. Here we are. Neat. Okay, so yeah, you guys go ahead and download the I'm in Love Unity package. If you can't access it, let me know. Need to make sure that everyone, has access to this Slack. This is where we'll be putting in information, and I'll put in more information this weekend and things. I didn't update it yesterday. I just started putting stuff in it today, but I'll try and be a little better about the communication. But yeah, go ahead and download this package and create a script And you can even stick that script onto the particle system itself and basically just disable the particle system after 2 seconds. Yeah, I'll give you guys probably 5 or 10 minutes to do that, and then I'll show you the solution after that time. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Yeah, go ahead and give you guys a chance to work on that while you go to the bathroom. If you're having troubles importing the Unity package, let me know. We can go through that again. Basically, you just right-click anywhere in your project to import package, custom package, and then select the file. What's the best reference for the related methods? You're gonna want to do game object, I would say. The method or get component. Get component is definitely a good one. Or if you're putting the component on the particle system itself, you can use the this, and then it knows that it's talking about itself. Or no, I apologize. You have to use get component. This would be referring to the stop hearts script that you're writing. Yeah, get component, and then you want to get the particle system. Excuse me. Probably the trickiest part of this is the delay. I didn't really give you guys any hints on how to delay the turning off of the particle system for 2 seconds. How's everybody doing? Okay. I will share my screen again here. So what I did is I right-clicked and then I created a new script called Stop Hearts. Double-click and open up that heart script. And the one line of code that stops it is we do get components, and we're getting the particle system. And get component means you're looking at the same game object that the script is on. If you want to locate a particle system that's on a different object, then you can do things like transform.parent. That would get the game object's parent, and then you can also do get component. You can get the component of the parent. You could do get components if you want all of the components of a particular type. If you want to get all of the components of a particular type in the children, there's get components in children, there's get components in parents. These are how you get the different components from the game objects themselves, but we're just going to use get component particle system because it's on this, we're going to put it on the same object and then stop. And then what we do is we take that stop hearts and we put it on our particle system. I've already got one on there. I just made a duplicate. You can have the same component on there multiple times, but really we only need it once. And the other line of code that I wrote goes in start. Start fires once when the object is invoked. And so invoke is a Unity keyword that means call a particular function. In this case, I wrote the function stop particles, and it's going to call it in a certain number of seconds. And I put 2. So now when we start the scene, our particle system starts, and then after 2 seconds, the love stops. I just heard a question come in. If you have more than one particle system, how does the code direct the action to the hearts? So I think you might only be able to put one particle system on a, yeah. If you try and put 2 particle systems on a single game object, it is going to complain and say that you're not allowed to do that. If you create another game object in your scene here, let's see here, particle system. We have another particle system. We'll move it over here a little bit so that we have hearts and stars. And right now, our stop heart script, it doesn't work with a white background, does it? You can change the background color on your camera. Change mine to white because I didn't like that horizon one. I think the default is skybox. I'll just leave the skybox, but you can change it to a color. There's a lot of cool skyboxes out there. If you look at the Unity asset store, there's all kinds of cool space ones and desert ones and city ones. Yeah, there's a skybox for everything. We'll just use the default one though. So we've got both of our systems going, but then the heart one stops because this particle system doesn't have our stop hearts component. But if it did have it, it would stop after 2 seconds. If you wanted, see when I stopped, I had added that other particle, that other stop hearts script when the game was running. Notice how it's gone now. So if I hit play again, the hearts are going to stop and my second particle system is going to keep going because I drag it over during gameplay. But let's say the hearts doesn't want to stop. It wants to stop that other one. Let's go back to our our script, and we'll say game object, and we want to be public, so it shows up in our inspector. Particle sysparticle system to stop. And now, when I come back over to the inspector, my stop hearts script has these particles to stop. And rather than stopping the particle, the hearts, we're going to stop the other. Let's give this their names hearts and lights. So our hearts are going to stop our lights. That's not quite going to work because this is still doing get component dot particle system. What we want to reference is we want the particle system to stops particles to stop. So now, when we hit play, the hearts will continue to go, and after 2 seconds, our lights stop. Does that make sense to everybody? I want to make sure everybody understands what I just did. This is kind of a important aspect of Unity and component-driven programming. I just really want to make sure everybody understands how the hearts are stopping the lights like that. And the code change that I just made here. So get component means you're referring to yourself. And if you're doing some kind of game object, then it refers to that game object. And we could even change this game object to particle system. And that way, when we come over to the inspector here, it says there's a type mismatch. So you should be able to drop that in there. Yep. Because normally if you try and drop something on here and it's not a particle system, it just wouldn't allow you to do it. So for example, I can't drop my camera onto this particle because there's no particle system here. If I wanted to do that, I could be kind of weird, I guess, and I could go ahead and I could add a particle system to my camera. Wouldn't that be weird? Look at that. It's emitting blank objects. They don't have a material on them, so they appear purple. So now I can drop my main camera onto here, and when I hit play, we've got all these crazy things going on. After 2 seconds, the purple ends. Let's take the particle system off my camera, though. That's not where they belong. Yeah. So, sorry, my nose is running away. Yeah, let me look in the chat here real quick if there's any questions. I didn't hear any dings. Can someone send me a new Slack invite? Sure. If you go, I think you can request it. All you have to do is in3dc.slack.com is the address. I'm pretty sure anyone is allowed to join. Otherwise, yeah, Aaron's in the audience. He can make sure that you're able to join. And so there's a function in Unity called game object called find, and it will look through your hierarchy and find an object of that name. So rather than having this particle systems to stop, we there's another way of turning off the lights from the hearts. If we wanted to do game object dot find, and we want to find the lights in the scene, and we want to turn off the particle system of that particular object, this is another way of doing it. So it's going to go through the entire hierarchy, find the first instance of a game object that's called lights. And this is where, yeah, you would have to have your game object called lights. And then it's going to turn off those lights after 2 seconds. I would refrain from using GameObject.find, especially in your update method. If you ever need to add it somewhere, it's okay if you put it in start because it only does it once. But GameObject.find is kind of an memory intensive function because it's traversing your entire hierarchy, and sometimes your scene will have hundreds or thousands of game objects in it, and to traverse that tree every single frame will kill the performance of your game. One that's a little better is transform.find. Transform.find allows you to kind of drill down into the children of your game object. So let's see here. We've got a cube here. And let's create another cube here. So our particle system has two cubes as children. And so if I were to move, it's appearing as one because when I place them in the hierarchy, I place them on a different axis. Probably be easier to see in the scene here, but yeah, because our camera is looking in this direction, in our game it appears that there's only one cube. If we wanted to change that, we'd just move it in the X direction, and now you can see that other cube back there. Oops. If we move our hearts particle system, if we move the parent, then it moves all of them at once. We kind of covered this last time. Now that I am in run mode and I hit play, all of the stuff snaps back to where it was before. So let's go ahead and move these like I did when we were in run mode. Let's say we want to turn off one of the cubes after 2 seconds. We can do that using transform.find. So stop particles. Let's write another function called turn off cube. And so after 3 seconds, how about 1.5 seconds, we're going to turn off cube. And so we're going to use transform.find our cube, and then the game object is going to get disabled. All right. And we hit play. And so everything is fine. Ooh. Did I spell it wrong? Ah, it was calling stop particles. I forgot I was going to copy and paste this here. We're really stopping our particles. What we want instead is for that cube to disappear. Oh, disappeared. Um, so yeah, if you recall, any transform has a game object, and at the same time, any game object has a transform. What happens if I don't have a child called cube break in my hierarchy? So right now, our stop hearts script is on this game object, and so this is this game object. And we're looking for cube break, but there's no cube break down here. So we're probably going to get an error message now in our console, a null reference, because what happened was, and now that we have a debugger that is working, we can set a breakpoint here, attach it to Unity, and now whenever that line of code gets fired, it's going to come into Visual Studio, and we can see exactly what's going on here. So here is our transform. It's the particle system game object, and then it's doing a find, but the problem is it's not able to find the cube.break. And this is where you can kind of do cool things where if you wanted to do use your debugger to watch different variables, this was returning null, but really we were looking for cube, which was finding this transform, and the transform has a game object, and the game object you're able to turn off. Likewise, we could find the other cube, which I think was called this. Found the other cube that's in our hierarchy over here. We'll let the game break again. This cube, this is how you, transform.find is how you traverse through your tree to find children and manipulate their components from the parent. Otherwise, you can go up the tree in the opposite direction. If I wanted to, our stop hearts could actually shut off the camera. Why don't you guys, let's do that, a quick exercise. Go ahead and spend 2 minutes, and instead of having the particle system stop, why don't you go ahead and have the camera shut off? Use the same script, but you can either use gameObject.find, you can use transform.parent, or no, I'm sorry. No, I can't do parent because the main camera isn't in the chain of parents above hearts. But you could also change this to game object and then drop the camera into the thing that gets turned off. Why don't you guys go ahead and make sure that you're able to turn off or destroy your camera after 2 seconds. Just want to make sure that everybody's able to do that and understands how this component-driven programming works. All right, I don't see any questions, so I'm assuming that everybody knew how to do that. We can either, we can even do camera here. Call it camera to stop. When I try to use game object.
Excuse me, Justin.
Yep.
Yeah, so I had a question about the features under the particle system dropdown. So why don't those seem to work? The duration, a lot of things are there, but they didn't seem to impact the object.
These ones here or these ones in the inspector?
In the inspector, in the particle systems area, if you open one, that drop down box, that one. So there's duration, there's looping, all those settings. Could those have worked as well to change the timing?
Yeah, I imagine there is probably a property in here somewhere to make them stop, because you can make the hearts start off small and then get bigger. You can make them go in a cone. You can make them go in all directions. I imagine there is probably a property in here somewhere to have the particle system shut off after a certain amount of time. That's right. Yep.
Okay, so I couldn't get it to save. So I don't know if there's a feature. Once I change the duration, I'm thinking duration is the period of time. It wouldn't save. So see, it says 5 seconds. I
The
changed it
length
to.
of time particle system is emitting. If the system is looping, this indicates the length. Looping, that's what it is. Yep, so if we want, that's exactly it. So you uncheck looping and you set it to 2, and this will emit for 2 seconds and then stop.
Well, that's 2 minutes now, but I see what you're
Oh,
saying.
it might be, no, it's in seconds.
Oh, it is?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Great. Okay.
So yeah, you didn't even have to write a line of code for this feature to work. And Unity tries to do that, actually. There's people who have been able to develop games and they don't write, a single line of code. You can do a lot of things just with the inspector. There's plugins. There's a plugin called Playmaker. I think it's about $60, but it's also one of the most popular Unity add-ons because it makes Unity more like GameMaker or Construct, where you're dragging and dropping things rather than writing semicolons and commas and get components. It's more of a drag and drop oriented way of programming.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Yep. So yeah, let's go ahead and camera to stop. And then we'll write another one called void turn on camera. Void turn off camera. I'm sharing my screen, right? Yep, good. Camera to turn off. And then we'll turn it on. A tricky will turn on with a game object dot find. Let's go out and find our main camera dot. You don't need starter update. They're just there for your usage. So what happens is after a second and a half, we're gonna turn the camera off, and then after 2.5 seconds, we'll turn it back on. And this is just two different ways to access the same exact game object, which is our main camera. Although before this works, we need to come back into our stop parts component and make sure that main camera is dropped here. It actually looks like main camera has a space here. And so in our script, coding is very unforgiving. This would fail. This will succeed. Yeah, let's go ahead and hit play. Looks right. Everything's going. Oh no, there's no camera. Oh, and we got a null reference too. Maybe it didn't find our camera. Let's go ahead and set a breakpoint. Did I spell camera wrong? There, let's go ahead and set a breakpoint and see. It failed to turn our camera back on. So it successfully disables the camera. And then here, let's do GameObject.find. No, it is not finding our main camera. We did something wrong. Is it spelled? It's not finding it. Huh. Did I spell main incorrectly? Let's go ahead and rename. Huh. I would have thought it would have worked. Let's just call it camera. Huh. Let's try another function. There's a third way of getting this camera object. If we do camera dot main, this automatically gets the main camera in your scene, and we should be able to set the game object and set it to true. Go ahead and try that one. Camera turns off, and we're still getting a null reference. I'm thinking that if there's no camera in the scene, Unity gets very angry and just quits working. Let's go ahead and add a second camera here. If you have any object highlighted and you push Control D, it will duplicate it. And so now we have two. You should never have two main cameras. That's kind of a bad idea. Let's not have that as a main camera. And so we can go ahead and run this. It's still throwing that error message. It's going because the second camera is still showing everything. But that is a little strange. I think it's because the camera itself is disabled. When you use GameObject.find or camera.main, it may have to be active in the hierarchy. Let's use our camera to stop. Just set it back to true. Turn the camera off and then turn it back on. See how it's highlighted again. So let's go ahead and get rid of our extra dummy camera. Yeah, would disable the camera and then turn it back on. Yeah, I guess I didn't realize that GameObject.find only looks for game objects that are currently active in the hierarchy. As I said, yeah, I rarely use GameObject.find because it's not very optimal. I don't even allow my employees to use it because it's, yeah. But it also makes your life a lot simpler. If you want to find something in the scene, it will definitely find something in the scene. As long as it has the exact same name. Don't forget, it's space sensitive. I don't believe it's case sensitive, but it is definitely space sensitive. And I'm a little surprised. Yeah, the camera.main is one of these special functions where if you ever want to just quickly grab the main camera, and normally the main camera is not shut off. You should almost never disable your main camera unless you're switching it to a different camera for some reason or another. But it wasn't able to find the main camera because, again, it was shut off in the hierarchy. And so this function, required to be on in the hierarchy. But then finally, at the end of the day, this one worked. But if we ran this now, it would actually not work because it would come here, it would come to line 18, and because it couldn't find the camera, it would throw our null exception error. And if you ever hit a null exception error in a function, it doesn't continue on to the rest of the function. It would die here and then return back to the editor. And then it would keep going. The game itself doesn't completely shut off, but yeah, if you hit some kind of exception, it falls out of the method that you're in. I just heard a ding. Somebody asked a question. What website are you using to be able to know which methods to use? The Unity3d website. Usually, Google will get you there as long as you type in Unity in front. You can do Unity. If we want to know more about cubes, we can type in cube. And it will give you the primitive. It tells you it's a primitive type. It gives you an example. You know, it doesn't have, primitives don't have that many functions, but let me think of something that has a little more functionality, like a collider. This will give you all of the different properties of the collider, the different public methods that it has, the different inherited methods that it has. Same thing if you were to put in camera. This would take us to the Unity API on camera. It's got all of the different properties, all of the different internal methods, external methods, and these are all links too. If you want to know how the camera rendering works, this is something that Unity's been talking about a lot, or at least they were last year or the year before when they first introduced it as the new rendering pipeline, and how you can optimize different shaders and things, and all of that stuff goes through the camera. Yeah, you can dive really deep into some of the features and functions that Unity has. We won't get into the nitty-gritty ones. The course is too short for that. I kind of just want to give you guys the most popular ones, make sure you understand how game objects work, make sure you understand how components work, make sure, yeah, that we're able to build a game, you know, at the end of the course, something that's, you know, fun and looks cool. You know, we'll probably end up cheating and grabbing some assets from the asset store to use. It's a lot easier than developing, you know, 3D models yourself. That's a whole nother. You could spend 7 weeks learning how to use Blender or 3D Studio Max as well. And you just have to have a lot of patience. Graphic designers, they have a lot of patience. They get better at what they do the more you practice, pretty much like anything. But yeah, graphic design and 3D modeling can take a long time to do it right. Were there any other questions? When I try to use GameObject.find method with the get component, it says it's expecting a semicolon even when I have one there. Were you able to fix that problem with the semicolon? Sorry, this question came up 15 minutes ago. I'm kind of going to assume that you got it working. I think we even had maybe that exercise in between there. So yeah, if I don't ask your question, just or don't answer your question, just ask it again. I'll make sure. Usually I can hear Meet gives me a little ding that lets me know that somebody has a question. All right, we're doing pretty well on time. Yeah, we've got about 5 minutes, 5:20. I think it goes until 8. Or the last, yeah, 10, 15 minutes maybe could be Q&A. Did anyone else have questions? I was going to have you guys do this lesson next. There is a thing I found called the Mega Bundle. It has quite a bit in there. I don't think, yeah, oops. Yeah, you could get through this. You'd spend your entire weekend getting through everything. But this kind of goes through Oh shoot, they're locked. Never mind. Looks like they're premium. Basically skyboxes, and the visual pack probably has a lot of stuff on particle systems. Particle systems can really make games look cool. Yeah, camera shake is another one. Camera shake. Camera shake is a really useful technique you can use. I don't know if it's built into the Unity engine. No, it looks like it's a custom class that they wrote. But basically, what happens is you shake the camera in different directions. You change the transform position of the camera just a little bit for a short duration of time. A lot of code you can find just through Google. This particular this particular class is pretty well commented. You know, this person has put a code comment pretty much every single line, so you can see exactly what's going on. This is our magic function here, the shake camera. He's using a coroutine, the shake coroutine, which yeah, we'll get into coroutines next week or maybe week 3. They're important. The problem is they get a little. They're one of the more tricky things that people can get caught up on because you're basically doing multi-threading. IEnumerator and start coroutine. These are how you do multi-threading in Unity. Yeah, I would say continue to look around the Unity education site. I'll actually look around and I'll drop a link into our Slack with some good resources that I find. I'll do that tomorrow afternoon or maybe even tomorrow morning or tonight. I don't have them on hand right now and don't think it makes much sense for you guys to just watch me look for resources. But yeah, does anyone have any other questions? Well, premium is free until end of June. Oh, well, hey, there you have it. Yeah, the mega bundle looked pretty good. I would advise. I did it again. Going through. There's a lot of stuff here. If there's something you get stuck on, we can come back to it and go through it. Hopefully, I know how to do all this stuff. I'm not that familiar with Unity's internal AI system, but yeah, it works pretty well. I've used it at a game jam one year, and yeah, it's powerful. It works pretty well. It uses A-star finding algorithm, and yeah, it's actually not that hard. You set up a nav mesh. It's also a more complicated feature, right? Where I don't think the intent of this course was to show people how the AI system works. It's more or less just kind of giving you a 101. This is how game objects and components work. We'll start looking at the AR, VR stuff, I think, either next week or the week after, maybe. We'll have to do some polls and make sure that people have the right hardware. I'll find the best plugin to use as well. Just because a lot of people indicated on Tuesday that was the direction that you wanted to go. Can we add some assets from the asset store? Yeah, sure. Let's go to the Unity asset store. It's super easy. The way you imported the package that I dropped onto the Slack is the same way that you add assets from the store. So, what's it called? 3D 3D models. Yeah. Let's go ahead and grab some free. This is a coffin. Yeah, look at these coffins. So let's add to my assets. 74 megs, kind of big, but I've got a pretty fast internet connection. So we open it in Unity, and I think, yeah, it even basically did the equivalent of importing the package. Where'd it go? Or is it downloading? Here. Got the coffin package. Download. Actually haven't gotten anything out of the asset store in the last 6 months. And so, yeah, they changed it. You used to be able to open up the asset store right in Unity, and now you have to go through the website, and now the website doesn't even automatically download it. You have to click download, and then you click import, and then this brings up the menu I was expecting, this one, where we import these assets, and then they'll show up here in our project. And now, if we go over to our scene, we want to grab one of these fancy coffins. We can just take a red coffin and drop it right into our game right there. And, oh, I'm a little off here. Gotta move her down. Or let's just reset the position entirely. Reset position, that'll make it go to 0, 0, 0. And now I'm pretty sure it'll be on the camera. There we go. Move it a little closer. It's going to block our particle systems, but we're going to have a really big red coffin right in front of the camera with hearts coming out of it. Oh, let's not turn the camera on and off. Isn't that nice? So I heard a bling. It's another question. It's not letting me download the package. You should be able to download the package. What happens is, yeah, the website seemed to redirect it to the editor, and then inside of the editor, you have to click this download button. And then after you've downloaded, then you can hit the import button. Yeah, there's a bunch of other, it's recognizing the packages that I already have in my, on my computer, actually. Because what happens is Unity actually downloads these Unity packages to a folder on your computer. See if I can remember where it's at. It's in app data. I think maybe roaming. Unity asset stores. Yep, there it was, right there. It puts it in username, app data, roaming, Unity, asset store. That's the publisher. That's the asset name. And there's the Unity package right there. So that's kind of the behind the scenes where it's saving it. And then when you hit import, it imports that package. Failed to import package. Maybe you have it imported already? Yeah. All right, so if you're getting this error message, kind of the way around that is to do what I just showed you, navigate to wherever it's at, make sure that you have the package there that it in fact downloaded. And you should be able to double click on it, fail to import. Because we're in play mode. That's a little bit better error message. Yeah, the reason you weren't able to import is probably because we were in play mode. Let's try it one more time. Open an editor. Import. Yep, it was because we were in play mode. Any other questions before we close out tonight? Otherwise, yeah, if there's something you guys want to learn about specifically on Tuesday, let me know. Otherwise, I'll probably go over prefabs. Prefabs are important to know. We'll go over a few other things. Maybe we'll go over coroutines. Those are definitely the two most important features that we haven't covered yet, are prefabs and coroutines.
Hey, so I'm still having a bit of troubles with downloading like an asset from the source.
I think someone's trying to talk. It's not very loud. Google is still dictating, which is pretty cool. You're still super quiet. Maybe just type it. Oh.
Hi, yes. So I just typed in the chat, but I'll just ask if you have do you have an outline of the lesson? So if we're studying Mega Build, or is prefab Mega Bundle, I should say, or is prefab something else? I just want to look at it a little.
Yeah, there's probably the Mega Bundle didn't look like it was going to cover prefabs. Let me.
Okay.
Unity official tutorials. That's usually a pretty good one.
Okay.
They've changed. They used to have it less material, but it was better organized. Yeah, I'll look around for a good intro to prefabs video. Otherwise, this one probably covers it. It looks like it's not very long. It's only 1 minute and 30 seconds, and you could definitely talk about prefabs for more than 1 minute and 30 seconds.
Okay.
But yeah, prefabs are pretty important because they allow you to create objects at runtime.
Okay. I can start there and search around.
Normally
Thank
you'll
you.
have a yep, no problem.
But just thinking about a full layout for the 10 courses or the 5 weeks, well, we've done 2 now. So for the
Yeah, I
next 8
haven't.
classes.
Yeah, I was gonna see kind of the direction that people wanted me to go,
I
and
see.
I haven't taught this course before. Yeah, I wasn't sure what the experience levels were gonna be, and so yeah, I just want to make sure that you guys are getting out what you want. And yeah, I'll make kind of a master list of things that we'll go through. I'll always have something to show you guys. It's just a matter of what you want to learn about, and want to make sure that we're not going too fast.
Well, I would love to make a small game by the end of the fifth
Okay,
week.
yeah.
I
You
don't know if
guys want
that's
to make
doable, but
No, definitely. It's definitely doable. Do we want to make a 2D game or a 3D game? I think one of the first things I did when I was learning Unity is I found a Flappy Bird tutorial, and I just made Flappy Bird from scratch, other than the graphics. Usually you can find the graphics and then just use the graphics, but if we want to, make a first-person shooter, we can do that. We need to find some assets online, because we're not going to be creating assets during our class, but yeah, we could definitely create, a roll the ball game, like a marble game. Yeah, because I think it's important to go. Yeah, we'll have examples of using a first-person controller where you control the camera. That's a really important thing to be able to know how to do, and it's not that hard either. Unity makes it really easy.
yeah, that'd be great. And I saw someone said 2D in the chat, so that works for me too.
Okay, yeah, maybe we'll. I'll try and find a good short little 2D game that we can make in an hour or two next time, and we'll integrate prefabs in as well. Okay, does anyone have anything else?
Yeah, I still had a problem with downloading an asset where basically I clicked the Open in Unity option,
Yep.
and when it goes into the packet manager, it gives me an error that the download couldn't be completed.
Okay, which were you trying to purchase an asset that was cost money, or?
No, it was a free asset.
Okay, and it opened in the package manager here. You can see it
Yeah, I can see it. It's just there's an error message.
when you push download.
It gives me another error.
What's the error message say, the first one?
Download could not be completed.
Huh. You may want to try just downloading it to your local machine and then importing it by double clicking on the Unity package file.
How do I do the just like a regular download?
Yeah, let's grab another top free asset here. Let's get the 2D game kit. As long as it's small, 300 megs, that's not small. How about free platform game assets? 25 megs, let's get that one. So add to assets, pops up this, and now it only allows you to open in Unity.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, they kind of messed up their asset store. It used to be better. I would say try restarting Unity. Something strange. You should be able to open it in Unity. Does the error message give you any additional details as to why?
It said like failed to confirm purchase details.
Maybe you're not logged in. Make sure that you are logged in as yourself. You have to create a Unity account and be logged in.
Yeah, I'm logged in. If I'm logged into Unity Hub, do I have to log into the editor separately, or if I'm logged into the hub, does it count for this?
It's probably best to be logged in both places if it doesn't do it automatically.
I had a question about versioning and build errors. Like the lesson we worked on before this, it wouldn't work with the 2020 when you try to actually play it. I used it in 2018, so we were saying 2019 worked too. Like, should we try to just follow the version if we have something to follow along beforehand?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question real quick?
You know, we had the little truck lesson.
Yep.
When I tried writing the play in 2020 version of Unity, it was throwing a bunch of errors.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll be more cognizant of the Unity version. Yeah, that's no good. Everyone's on 2020, so
This is why I was kind of thinking we should use the 2019 LTS because maybe more of the lessons will work with it.
okay, yeah, everyone go ahead and download the 2019 as well. I didn't realize that, yeah, that lesson or that online tutorial was throwing error messages. Yeah, usually the Unity versions aren't that different, but let's go ahead and use the actual core release, the last version of the 2019, and then hopefully all of their online lessons should run without warnings or errors.
I mean, the 2018 is labeled as LTS, and the 2019 is not. I don't know if that matters or not. I'm always kind of a fan of using LTS unless you want to use the bleeding edge. I don't know if that'll affect VR or not.
Yeah, LTS is just long-term support. So you're saying that no, we want to use, well, 2018 has nested prefabs in it, but I think either one should be all right. 2019, yeah, I'm a little curious as to what types of error messages the 2021 was showing. Did it still run and everything? It just gave warnings?
Well, open it, but I couldn't actually play. It wouldn't even play. There's like 120 errors that popped up.
Oh, wow.
But
Yeah,
they
go
were saying
ahead.
that 2019 worked. I just tried with 2018. But I think I'll download 2019 if we're going to follow along with that.
Okay. Yeah, and if you're having issues, yeah, feel free to message me on Slack and point out stuff like that. Yeah, I'm just kind of okay. Restarting seemed to work. Very good. Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. If you guys need anything, just let me know. Otherwise, yeah, we'll plan on going over prefabs and doing some type of 2D game on Tuesday. All right, thanks everybody. I'll have a good weekend, and I'll talk to you in a couple of days.